Tune in, this is where it's at. The Fantasy Football Plug Podcast. You know that we got it popping. Oh yeah, that's apparent. Got a shout out to my homie, one and only Jay.
You have now access to complicated production.
In my car, and through my arm this way, this green Range Rover pulls up in 1995 or maybe early 96. No one had green Range Rovers, let alone a Range Rover.
Right.
And this tall, skinny black guy gets out. I look at him, and I'm like, holy shit. I do a double take, and he walks right by me. And I go, Lamar. And he goes like that and walks into the store. He walks out. I go, yo, you're Lamar Thomas from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, right? And I'm speed talking. I'm like, I want to be an agent. I want to work for the Marlins. I want to know about this. Who's your marketing guy? Who does this? He's like, man, first of all, hold on. Who the fuck are you? Second of all, I got shit going on. I got to get out of here. Like he was in and out of the store in 20 seconds.
Right.
I'm like, yo, can I get your pager number? Because back then nobody had cell phones.
Oh yeah.
I was like, let me page you, man. Maybe I can beep you, and we can link up. You can tell me about the business. He's like, man, no, like, who are you? Some 20-year-old kid. So I said, look, I run some promotions and parties. I don't know if you're single. Blah blah blah. There's a lot of girls, and all of a sudden his ears perked up, and he's like, oh man, why don't you hit me up? So yeah. I leave. I never fix my taillight because by now the cop's gone. Fuck the cop. And not all police, just that specific one. And I drive back to my apartment and I open up the yellow pages, which I don't even think people know what they are, but back then they were this big. Killed a lot of trees back then.
I remember.
And I start calling sporting good companies all over South Florida. I'm like, hey, by the way, I don't represent them at the time. I'm like, hey, I represent Lamar Thomas from the Miami Hurricanes. He now plays for the Miami Dolphins. He was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Can we get him a free waterbed? Can we get him a free shirt? Can we get him $10,000? And I have no idea if it's a $300 or $3,000. Lamar and I hit it off pretty well. We hang out a bunch of times, and he doesn't really have anybody doing his marketing. And eventually I realized that most pro football players especially have very limited marketing unless you're Drew Brees or Matt Ryan or
right.
Like you mentioned Marcus Allen earlier. And so we start getting them deals. I start getting them deals, and I come up with this idea that I'm going to build an entertainer and athlete management agency. We're going to represent divers. We're going to represent actresses. We're going to represent musicians. And I call it TEAM, Total Entertainer and Athlete Management. But instead of trying to trademark TEAM, which I know I'm never going to get, I throw in an extra A. So it's TEAAM. And out of my law school apartment in Coconut Grove, Florida, I start signing guys. Like I get a copy of a contract. I figure out how to edit it on my crappy little computer. I get printed out copies, and I go to appearances of other guys that aren't even my clients, and I pitch them. I talk to them. And 97, I probably have 15 guys on the Dolphins. Just marketing, but I'm starting to make waves, and I'm learning about the contract side of the business as it goes on. 97, 98, I realized that I have to recruit. Go out on the street, meet players, and try to become their agent. I think I got certified in 96. So 97, I have a bunch of swings and a bunch of misses, but I had some misses with some really big players. Mm-hmm. And I felt, I still don't know, I don't know if anybody likes me to this day, certainly not your viewers and listeners, and definitely not you. But I do think that guys kind of liked where I was coming from, my passion. And also, they're 21, I'm 23. We're not, 15 years apart.
You relate.
And a lot of them were telling me my agent kind of doesn't really call me. My agent's just a lawyer who I hired because my uncle got into a DUI, and this was the guy. And that still goes on in our industry a little bit. Now, all of a sudden, Jerry Maguire's out. Now, all of a sudden, every kid at law school is like, wait, you're an agent? I want to be a baseball agent. And one of my buddies who I went to law school with became a very, very successful baseball agent who wrote an article about me, which is actually right over there on the wall, my first ever article about me in law school. And now he represents a bunch of baseball players that make way more money than football players will because of guaranteed money. So 98, I go to the NFL Combine, I start recruiting, and my partners, I had found some money. So in football especially, there's a shifting landscape in the last 25 years of agencies basically fronting the costs to train an athlete. Uh-huh. And I was a poor law student. I didn't even graduate law school yet in 1998. I graduated in 98. And I realized, by the way, I'm skipping class nonstop. I'm working 20 hours a day. I'm basically doing the nightclub stuff so that I can make $1,000 a week to then spend it going to dinners with players, meeting players, setting up marketing appearances.
Sure.
And very early on, I realized that it was a treacherous business. And had some really bad shit happen to me with players, dishonest stuff and things like that is always going to happen when money's involved.
Sure.
Met some really shady people that were runners or recruiters or attached to players and were trying to convince, the player to hire this guy or that guy or this girl or that girl. And in 1998, my mom introduces me to some financial guys, and my computer restarted. That's why there's more light on this mug. And they end up saying to me, hey, we'll fund you. We'll give you some money. We'll help you run your agency, and we want to be your partners. In turn, we want to do the financial management for them. You already have total entertainer, so part of the total will be money management. And they were licensed. They were legitimate guys at a real insurance and investment company. And so they were my partners. Then in 98, I started to have some success. I signed some kids from the University of Florida. And I go to the NFL Combine, and they meet another agent who will remain nameless because he's one of the worst human beings in the history of the planet. And they basically tell me, without me getting to decide, he's my new partner. He's my business partner. So I teach him how to dress. I actually fly to Dallas, Texas, where he lived, and took him to the Galleria Mall. He was in shock at how much a pair of dress shoes cost, because all he knew how to wear was white New Balance sneakers with 20-year-old jeans. And I get him a real haircut. I talked to him about the glasses that he wore, how he was all disheveled and really poorly dressed and out of shape and things. And I talked to his wife and his kids about changing his image, because we're trying to become the biggest agency in sports, not just in football. So eventually, I think he had 14 guys in the NFL, and I had 3 guys in the NFL in 98. In 99, I think I had a second-round pick and a second-round pick, a third-round pick, and a seventh-round pick. And then I started flying all over the country meeting his 14 guys. And my pitch was, I want to meet you, but I really want to meet your teammates, because I really want to show them what we're doing is unique, is aggressive, is passionate, and we actually give a shit about our clients.
Yeah.
So we went from 17 guys in 98, 99 to 76 guys in 2001.
Man.
And in March of 2001, I put my key in the door of our Florida office, and it actually snapped off. And in the span of about 10 days, when I was traveling back and forth to LA, I'd been to Hawaii for the Pro Bowl. I'd been to Vegas for the ESPYs, back to back to back, because back then the ESPYs used to be in Vegas, and they were coincided with the week after the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl. They stole all of my clients. I got fired by 74 guys and millions and millions. I mean, I don't even know how much money the money was. So 2001 was a really ugly year. End of 2001, going into 2002, the NFLPA got involved. Some players kept me as an agent / friend / client. Stephen Davis, the running back for the Redskins, who we had done a $100 million deal for. Mike Anderson was the rookie of the year in 2000. We got an extension in 2001, but there was tons of marketing that I was doing for him. So those 2 guys kind of kept me alive. Really like a $5,000 autograph sign for Mike Anderson, but I was going to get $1,000 commission off of. That kept me breathing, because in March, not only did they steal all the money that was in the company and take it, the 3 partners screwed me over, but I didn't get a paycheck. I didn't get any commission off of all the work that I'd done. The one thing your listeners should know and understand is, just because you sign a guy doesn't mean you get paid by the guy. Just because you negotiate a contract doesn't mean you get paid by the guy. You got to bill the player. He only gets paid in increments, signing bonus maybe, and then the next time he'll see money, let's say a deal you do in March, you might not see your first check from that guy until July, right? Okay. So cash flow is a huge component of this business, massive component of this business. So for me, I had no cash flow. I had no revenues. I had no income. So Stephen Davis and Mike Anderson's marketing deals really kept me alive. And then at the end of 2002, this individual was in essence banned for life from the agency industry. He's back in the business somehow. And a lot of the veteran guys were like, holy shit, maybe it was David that was the genius. Maybe it was David that was the work. Maybe it was David that was the talent. And so my phone would ring. I was able to get Stephen Davis as a full-fledged client now, away from that person, a couple other players. And in 2003, I did Stephen's big deal with the Panthers because he had gotten cut by the Redskins. I did Todd Sauerbrun's the biggest punter deal in NFL history at the time. And nobody had ever seen a punter make $2+ million a year. And it's still a pretty big number for punters.
Yeah.
So very quickly, guys were getting the word that I was the guy, I was the juice, and I was the talent. And it's been since 2003 till now that DEC Management has kind of stayed in its same incarnation. I've added some cool things to it. So we have a full-time analytics department.
Okay.
So maybe one of the only agencies that does what we do. Our analytics are so good that we've been asked to sell it to NFL teams. So the database that Brian McIntyre has created is all self-driven database. So literally today, a transaction report at 4:00 comes out. That all gets hand input into a database, which will have everything from the guy's pro day times to who his agent was to who his agent is, date of birth, height, weights, and then every football component you can imagine down to the percentage of snaps he takes in goal line formation. It's been tremendously beneficial. Brian's been with me for 10 years now. And directly related to Brian is, the huge Eric Weddle deal in 2011 with the Chargers to make him the highest paid and first ever $8 million safety. All the stuff that we did for Paul Soliai, obviously the Olivier Vernon, defensive end deal that reset the defensive end market, and then resetting it again with Demarcus a couple years ago. And that's the cool thing about football is the players get younger and younger and the deals will get bigger and bigger, right? And you do a deal today, it's very likely it's going to get beat tomorrow or the next day. And then about 4 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, this little pissant 16-year-old kid comes up to me and Brian. We're at the NFL Combine. And he goes, "Aren't you David Canter?" And I'm like, no one knows who the hell I am, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? And I look around and I'm like, someone has told him to say this to me. This isn't fake humility. This is real humility. To play a trick on me. And then they're like, yeah, you think somebody knows you. He's like, no. I'm a huge Dolphins fan. I follow you on Twitter. You represent Sean Smith. You have Paul Soliai. You have Derek Shelby. He knows my whole client list. I'm like, holy shit, who are you, kid? And he's like this, like I am.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm 16 years old. My name's Nesta Mugrabi. I want to be a sports agent. I want to be just like you and Drew Rosenhaus. I'm like, whoa. You got to pick one or the other because we're very, very different. Our business models are completely the opposite. And I think our personalities are probably completely the opposite. And he goes, no, I studied everything about you. How can I be an intern? I'm like, look, I don't have an intern program. I'm like, but you follow me on Twitter, hit me up. DMs have now become a part of my life, right? Sons of Anarchy success. And I'm like, why don't we'll talk, we'll touch base. And he's been with me now 5-6 years. And I mean, he's my right-hand man. He's involved in every part of our business. He just turned 22. He's getting his graduate degree. He'll be a certified agent next year. He'll go on rep agreements. And to be frankly honest with you, there's that age thing, right? Where some of the 23 and 24-year-old guys like him better than they like me.
Sure, they relate.
And it's allowed me to kind of transition my relationships with guys to where I can be more fun and less business. Whereas when you're building and you're building, it's really hard to just be a goofball all the time. I'm a pretty serious goofball. And so with Ness involved, and he'll take care of a car rental or he'll get a guy's mom and dad a ticket to a game. I don't even have to know, right? It's just autopilot for him because he crushes it because he's 22. And the same with Brian on the analytics side. If I say, hey, we have a meeting with player X tomorrow at 11 a.m., at 9 o'clock that night before, even if it took him 7 hours of straight work, there's an analytics package that's better than anything you'll ever see anywhere else. And it's resulted in guys like Jamie Collins, who I don't know if a lot of people know who he is, but Jamie Collins puts up on Twitter in March this year, need an agent. I think that was his actual tweet. I went apeshit. I'm like, whoa. Jamie Collins needs an agent 5 days before free agency or 7 days before agency? I mean, I text messaged 150 people. I called every person I know. Get me on the phone with this guy. All I need is 1 hour and I'll blow him away. Sure enough, he was friends with another client of ours who's part of our company too, named Brandon Spikes.
Yeah.
Longtime linebacker.
Oh, yeah.
Florida Gators Hall of Famer.
Awesome.
And Spikes is like, yo, that's my boy. What's up? And I'm like, dude, I can get this guy paid. Like, I know other agencies can get him paid. I'm like, but we can get him really paid. He's like, well, how much? I'm like, well, let me talk to him. He's like, well, he's sitting right here next to me. And I'm like, what? I'll never forget as long as I live. Well, no, that was only March. And I'm like, what do you mean he's sitting right there next to you? He's like, yo, we're at my house in Charlotte chilling together. He's like my best friend. I'm like, huh? I'm like, wait, you don't tell me this shit? Like,
right.
He's like, man, I don't, I'm not going to get involved with the man's business. Like, and I respect that, right? So he gets me on the phone with Jamie. We talk for 3 minutes. It's not the greatest conversation in the world. And he's like, look, I'm going to get back to my wife and my kids, my family in Florida tomorrow, and I'll call you and let me know what you want to do. So Brian and I put together the package. Brian does all the work. I do the talking, and Brian likes it that way. And so I get Jamie on a FaceTime. Mm-hmm. He's never seen me. I can't fly to Pensacola because it's a week before free agency. Right. And this is a true story. It's still insane. And I say, hey, while we're on the phone, open up the text I just sent you. So he opens up the analytics package as I'm looking at him, and I'm like, no, turn it sideways because it's a PDF. So he starts swiping through the PDF, and he's like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, no, go to the back and look at this. And I'm like, click on that. That'll open up you playing football, right? He looks at me in the camera and goes, man, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, so are you hiring me? And he goes, fuck yeah, man, send the papers right now. And I was like, yes! I was like screaming. I was sitting right here, by the way, in the same chair. Actually, no, I got rid of my old office chair because that was uncomfortable, but this same spot. And so I'm like, listen, I don't know if you're upset about this. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to meet you before free agency starts. And he goes, man, just get me paid. I don't give a shit about me. Like, I don't need friends. I'm 31 years old. I got kids and family.
My wife
so this March, free agency starts. We get him 3 years, $30 million with 20 fully guaranteed. He had played for $2 million with the Patriots last year. Oof. And he's having a good season. He had one mediocre game. He got ejected from the first game of the season on a ridiculous call by the ref. And I think that was kind of the eureka moment for me as an agent, where I'm like, wow, we really are at a level that I always wanted us to get to, where a player doesn't even really need to meet me. He can just see the work that we do. He can look at the deals that we do. And I think that the business gets misjudged because the mega agencies there's 12 or 14 agents, and each one of those guys has 15 or 20 clients. Drew has almost 100 clients, or maybe even more. So, and he has 5 or 6 agents that work with him. But for us right now, we've only got 1 or 2 other agents that work with us part-time. Drew Smith came over from Goal Line this past year. We have 1 client together. He has a client as well with another agent that he used to be partners with. And then we'll see how that transition happens. Josh Stevens has been with me for a couple of years, and we've had some kind of hits and misses and bumps in the road. And part of it is we're not going to do things just to convince a guy to hire us. We're going to do what's right for the player. We're going to guide them properly. We're going to always be honest. Like, I think that's the biggest thing I could say in football, because it's such a violent sport and the time frame of your career, if you will, is so condensed and limited. Mm-hmm. You have to be brutally honest with guys.
Absolutely.
Because not everybody else is, right? Coaches want to get the most out of them, so they're kind of bullshitting them a little bit, or they're trying to angle hey man, you're not the starter yet, but we need you on special teams, but a year from now you're going to be my guy. You're on the practice squad, but if you keep putting in that work, we're going to activate you. things like that. And so I try to be really 100 with my guys at all times. And I think it's working. Football, but you say, oh yeah, but let me tell you something. This is a year-to-year business. In fact, to be honest with you, it's a day-to-day business because guys can get hurt in practice on a Wednesday, full padded practice.
Sure.
Guys can get elevated on the practice squad on Saturday, play like shit on Sunday and get cut on Monday. We had 2 veteran guys, Joe Webb and J.J. Wilcox, get released yesterday, and J.J. Wilcox by the Falcons, and it eats me alive. It kills me because it's not that they did anything wrong. It's just, we need a couple extra offensive linemen, and you're the guy. You're expendable. And so that's always the hardest part of the business. I think having Brandon Spikes involved in the post-career component of what guys do when they can jump into another life after football has been huge. We signed a guy last year, DJ Alexander. I don't know if you remember him. Mm-hmm. Good special teams linebacker. Been around a couple times, had some injury stuff. And I don't know DJ very, very well. He hired me last year. And then this year he said, look, man, I have a post-career plan. COVID's made me think about it. I've been home a lot. I've been with my wife and my kids, and I don't want to go back to playing football again. And I was like, hey, we love it. Let us know how we can support you. Let us know if we can help you with resumes. Let us know if we can help you with internships. Let us, that's what Brandon does. And so I think that being able to keep that connection and that bond will help us continue to grow the business. I always feel like we could have 100 players in the NFL. I think we have like 35 or 40, which is fantastic. But I do feel like we could go much bigger. But the dream of having 16 other sports and actresses and that's gone. I'd love to represent soccer players because that's my passion sport. And if we want to start a baseball division, awesome. Love it. NBA seems like it's just too oversaturated and competitive. Love hockey in the playoffs, but don't know about enough developing and stuff. So that would be like secondary parts of DEC management that I would have to let someone else come in and run. And I would just kind of use what we've done to oversee it, so to speak.
Right.
But it's not, unless we get an investor or some billionaire walks the door, to help us run it and fund it, it's probably not realistic. But I'm 47. I feel like I've never worked a day in my life, Jason. I feel like there's a lot of really good people who play pro football who need a good person representing them. Our number one criteria for an athlete is, are they a good person? I don't care if they're the first overall pick or the last overall pick. If the first overall pick's a piece of shit, I'd rather have the other guy. Because it's not, you can't, I can pay my bills. I can make a lot of money. But then what's the quality of life if I have to sleep with my cell phone on every night, worrying, oh my God, this guy's going to get a DUI. Hold on, the other kid wants to come in. You want to be on TV, Axel? Come be on TV, Axel.
What's up, Axel?
This is Axel, the 5-year-old. And the dog's in here, too. Look, this is him. Yeah, he's jumping right in. And Messi's here, the dog.
Messi.
Since I have Robux, I have enough from this, and
I'm
it
sure,
won't take your money.
I'm sure that...
It won't take your money.
Wait, hold on. I'm sure that the fact that I just talked over an hour and a half and you come in talking about Roblox is exactly what his listeners want to hear. My son, look at this. Right? We're trying to film a TV show here, guys.
This is the good stuff. This is what matters.
This is what matters, by the way.
Daddy, it doesn't take your money.
Even the dog, by the way, just he's sitting on my lap. My son's right there, and the dog is, you can't really see her because he's blind. She won't leave me alone because she wants me to pet her.
Oh, Messi.
You see her? There she is.
I can see her.
All right, buddy. I'll be out there soon, okay? Go out there. Yeah, in a minute. Not right this second. Don't take her out. Go ahead, guys.
Good to meet you. Oh, good to see you, Austin.
Say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Bye.
See you guys.
In a minute.
Maybe. I'll talk to your mom about it.
It doesn't take your money. Tell her doesn't.
That's day to day. There's a third kid who's 12, but he just hides in his room because we built him. He has like a microphone that you have. Yeah. He's a Twitch guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's Fortnite 24/7 with his phone and Fortnite. I will say this. For those of you that are going out and experiencing the real world, we haven't done that for 7 months, man. We've been Locked in the house. Oh, hold on. Here he is. What's up, dude?
What's up, dude?
I'm gonna buy it right now.
All right, go. Please.
Can I buy it?
No, not right now. If you interrupt me one more time, you won't get it at all. There you go. That's David Canter, parent of the year right there. Hold on a second.
I love it.
I should have locked you off this door, you know.
It's fun, man. I like it. I love it. That's one of the main.
But that's my real world. Like that's the thing I say to people. Like, this is my life, but that's my life. Like, being an agent's my life, and it's what I love, and it's my passion. But it's for Asher, Austin, and Axel, and my wife Perry. But you know, without them, none of it makes anything worthwhile.
Right.
But with COVID, they're not going to school. They're home. They're in our faces 24/7, 365. You know, there's no athletics. I mean, I don't know if you know Florida, but you know, we're just as dumb as Georgia. You know, people are acting like it doesn't exist because our leaders suck. But the reality is, it does exist, and people are dying every day. And hopefully, everybody's taking and wearing a mask, and everybody's being cautious. But it's pretty hard. The worst thing is you can't travel. You can't see your players.
Yeah, I can imagine that's pretty tough. I was going to ask you, how do you? I mean, you just do FaceTimes with them, I'm sure. Just kind of like what we're doing here.
I don't want to say I'm dying, because that's a terrible way to say it, but it is a brutal, for someone like me who is 250 days a year on the road, traveling in and out of hotels, seeing veteran guys that are unhappy with their agent that maybe want to hire me, meeting with my existing clients, seeing teams and general managers. You know, 2 weeks ago, Seahawks were here, right?
Yeah.
I have two starters on the Seahawks, Cody Barton, the linebacker, and Benson Mayowa, the defensive end. And John Schneider is someone who I consider a friend, the general manager of the team. Like,
very cool.
An actual personal friend. Like, I would lay down on the railroad tracks for John Schneider. Yes, he's the general manager of the team, but he's someone I care about deeply, love his family, love him, and couldn't even see him. Couldn't go to the hotel, couldn't have a drink with him, couldn't be around him. They're quarantined, locked in the hotel all day Saturday. Sunday, I go to the game. It's against the Dolphins. We have Kayvon Frazier on the Dolphins as well. Can't see the players after the game. I actually posted a picture on my Twitter of how I was able to see Cody Barton. He was about 20 feet away behind a chain link fence, you know, with his mask around his neck, sweating because it's 90 degrees after the game. He just played a football game. And it broke me, man. To say I was unhappy and pissed is an understatement, because if you want to go see your guy, you got to go fly. Okay, right? But then they can't be around you. Because if you get them COVID, if you expose them, they get major fines. You're talking about, you know, double-digit $25,000, $50,000 fines.
Right. Man, that's one thing, David, that I really wanted to. One thing I've noticed, and when I was reading about your company and you, and getting to talk to you here, is one thing I really, really enjoy, is because I can tell that you really do have love for your clients. And that's, like I was going to say earlier, like whenever you're saying, you know, you're saying, yeah, you get it. But what I was meaning to say was, real recognizes real. And these,
I appreciate that.
And they come to you and they trust you. I mean, just talking to you, I mean, hell, if I was a player, I would love to hire you, man. If I ever get to the point to where
everybody, there's 2,000 guys in the NFL. Come on, we can add another, what's that, 1,960 guys. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, man. I love what you said about the person behind the jersey, and not just as a player. You want to represent people who are good people. That's huge, because anybody can try and represent some asshole who's just gonna basically, you know, like you were saying, you have to have your cell phone next to you, and anytime you get a text or a phone call, you're wondering if this guy was in jail, or, you know, got busted with some blowing some hookers or something like that. But, you know, the fact that you say these things and you represent some great people. Like, I've seen these videos on Eric Weddle with his family, and they have the ice cream nights and stuff. I think that's fantastic. I've been a huge Weddle fan for a very long time. It seems like it. A lot of it comes from me seeing those videos of him with his family, like seeing your kids come in with the dog and stuff. Man, that's awesome. That makes you more human to anybody seeing it, and it shows that you're a great dad, you're a great guy, you're a great agent. I mean, it's just
a lot of greats, dude. Let's not put me in the, you know, Let's not make me a saint, to use
Well,
your
I was going to say, man, you got to pull, go walk on the water. Let's see
You
it.
should ask some NFL teams about me if they think I'm a great guy.
Oh, man, I'm sure you've got that switch that you got to turn on and be, you know, you got to be Jekyll, or who is it, Jekyll and Hyde? You got to be Jekyll.
That's my favorite part of what I do is, this is going to sound weird, but sometimes a lot of people will say, wow, you're an asshole. Or my favorite is, man, you're such a dick. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm the dick that's willing to lay down on the railroad tracks for you. I'm your dick. You know, I'm an asshole for you. I'm not an asshole because I want to be. I'm an asshole because I have to be, right? And so, you know, I think that the players that understand this